Tepu, assalamu alaikum, namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Kasak Ma Kaparu with another broadcast for you. And in this broadcast, I just want to talk about some magical tools, okay? And candles, herbs, stuff like that. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. And if this is your first time to my channel, hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live or when I upload recorded videos. And if you haven't already, consider becoming a member of Patreon. You get exclusive access to videos, instructional videos on how to perform a ritual. You'll participate in group hypnosis sessions. And then we have other stuff on there like working the oracles, using the I-ching oracles, invoking spirits, all that kind of good stuff. And also we have free ebooks that you can download and start reading today, and expands on my knowledge that I'm going to give here about the esoteric, about the spiritual. So if you want to continue your learning, just go to the links below, download the free ebooks and start reading them. The latest ebook that we have is the New Capital Ankh, which is kind of the secret key to manifesting your own reality. So I talk a lot about reality manifestation, so you'll read about that in the ebook. Anyway, so want to welcome you guys to a quick broadcast I decided to do. And I'm going to have to make this quick because I can't stand sitting here. This is killing me. And I'm going to explain what's killing me is that I've just, after a long time, overseas in Africa, I finally got all my magical stuff that I ordered from an ancient shaman who was in the woods in Africa picking the herbs. And I got them, and I wanted to kind of open some of that stuff up for you guys. But, when I went to the mailbox, I mean, literally when I opened the box, I could smell the herbs. They're that powerful, that strong. And I was like, if I'm going to do this broadcast, I got to hurry it up, because even though they're boxed up, I could smell them. And it's just so overpowering. I can't even like sit here, But the first thing I'm opening is I know some really cool witches, and they always are putting stuff together for me. So they made me a magical. I gotta pull out the way. Let me show you the box. Hopefully the box is right there. Hold on. Yeah, man, the herbs are so powerful. Even the herbs in this candle are so powerful. I mean, my nose is just like dying right now. Like, okay. There we go. Wow. I mean, it's a very pleasant smell, but it's very overpowering. And you can't be around it too long. So it's wrapped up here. Oh, they wrote me a letter. It's a love letter. I get these marriage proposals and I just got to throw them away, whatever. Yeah, another marriage proposal. Okay. Oh, this will help you remove. This will help you remove any negativity, gain clarity, open roads, and and remove things that don't serve me. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading on and on. She's talking a lot about certain things. All right. Anyway, very private stuff about getting me in sexual positions and stuff like that, but you don't need to hear about that. All right. Let's open this candle up. They packed it pretty well. Jesus, what the? Oh, that flew out. Okay, got more stuff. God, Jesus. Oh, okay. All right. Nice. Here we go. All kinds of magical symbols here. It's got my name on it. You see it there? Really cool. Oh, wow. I was expecting like a yellow one, but I guess the white one is good for purity and cleaning out of energy and stuff like that. Down there, it's got some more herbs down there. You can see it. All right. And then I light this sucker. Oh, you can see it right here. There we go. Okay, it's really cool. Really nice. Really magical kinds of symbols on there. Okay. Yep. All right. That's good for that. All right. And I would what I would do is I would charge this candle before I light it. Let me sit there. That work? As if I don't have enough candles, Hey. Okay. All right, next is this stuff. And this is some powerful stuff here, man. I mean, it's a little box, but it's got a lot of stuff packed in there. It's like, oh my God. It smells bad. Whoa. All right, here we go. Here we go. Okay. Wow. Holy crap. Okay, that's some tough stuff, man. That's some tough stuff. You know what? Let me put this away. This is really strong. I'm going to put this away. Hold on a second. Oh, gee. That's too powerful. But those are herbs that I would put on my altar and work with them. Put that thing away. Woo! All right. Give me a second. Catch my breath. Holy crap. So that's what you want. You want the powerful stuff, the powerful herbs. You don't want that cheap stuff. You know what I mean? But you just got to be very careful in working with this stuff and make sure that you know the source that you're getting the herbs from, that they're good, and that, you know, because coming from plants, they have life. And if you pick them on a full moon, you're supposed to pick the herbs on a full moon, and it's or at certain times, because the energy is still contained in them, and you want to use them with a certain time before the energy dissipates, before the plant really just dies and dries up. But still, you can still use it, but you want it at its potency, the most potent herb. So what I wanted to talk to you really briefly about, let me take some vodka here. That's good stuff. Is if you want a magical candle, just reach out to me and I'll let you know how you can order it and all that. And it takes a long time. This sucker took me about 3 to 4 weeks to get, you know what I mean? So it takes some time because it has to be specially prepared. Or if you want some herbs, some magical herbs, I can put you in contact where you can order some of the best herbs from the best supply shops and stuff like that here in this country. But I gotta put that away. Take that out of the way. Woo! I'm like, it's not even that you get high off the herbs. It's just like it puts you. It's like I feel like I'm in a light ethereal mood now. Like you can tell the herbs are starting to affect me just from smelling it. You know, I become more powerful. I am now one with the force. You know, but what I wanted to kind of talk to you about was there's 2 different paths you can take as a magi. And this is what I struggled with in the very beginning. And in order to reconcile this, I had to go to the oracles and ask the oracle what's going to work for me. Because I was trained, when I went to priesthood, to study to be a magi, I was trained using herbs and doing rituals. I mean, we did big, massive, I mean, if you could see back in the day in our priesthood, we would do rituals that were so big, we had to have a warehouse just to pack all the people that would come from the neighborhoods and from out of state to participate in the rituals. And it was that big. It was really big rituals. And if you didn't get there in time, you couldn't get a seat. You would be standing up. And the ritual would last probably 4 or 5 hours, sometimes 6 hours, you know. And you would have all kinds of things going on. There were possessed deities, you know, a lot of other stuff I don't want to talk about. But so there's 2 paths you can go on as a magi. There's one where you are really working with herbs, doing your rituals to invoke the magic, to manipulate the physical reality that is around you. And then there's another path, and that path is the reality manifestation, which is along the lines of, you know, reality transurfing, or The Secret, The Law of Attraction, Neville Goddard, you know, all those types of things, which don't require any herbs. It really requires you mastering self. Now, there's a division between the self and the person. The person is the ego, as Freud would say, there's the id, the ego, and the superego. The person is the ego, it's you. It's the accumulation of conditioning or programming that has happened through existing in this 3rd dimensional plane. But the true self is you, Osir, or the indwelling intelligence within you is the self. That's who you truly are. Now, you can embark on the path of using the herbs to manipulate reality, but on the tree of life, the Port Neteru, as we call it, or we look at that as on the lower half of the tree of life. Because when you get up to the top, then you get to the realm of Sekert, and she is a witch, a priestess, and she uses her spiritual power to manipulate events. So there are those two paths. So if you want to work with the herbs and do the rituals to manipulate physical reality, that's perfectly fine. But there may come a time and place where you don't have them readily available to use. So what do? This is why I focus a lot on reality manifestation, working with self, mastering self, because I think that's important. And the reason why I work a lot with that was because I've seen a lot of results come out of that. Whereas we're working with herbs, some herbs work, some herbs don't. You know, you'll do a ritual, it may not be powerful enough, it may not work. But all of the time I've relied on myself, my spiritual power, and I've worked on self and mastering self. I've seen measurable results. So I've learned to use a combination, you know, because you have to understand that along this journey of self-mastery, of becoming a magi, you will fall short. You must admit that you are not at a level of where you need to be. And that's okay, because you're taking steps to get in that direction. You'll have to recognize and say, I am not Osir right now, but that is what I aspire to be. Or I am not Christ consciousness now, but that's what I aspire to be. And falling short of that and realizing there are just things that you're still dealing with emotionally. There's still hangups and habits that you're still dealing with, and you haven't conquered those yet. As in the story of Asar and Aset, Haru conquering his lower half, his emotions, which is Set. Then it's okay to say, I don't think that I can rely on my own individual spiritual power to overcome the situation because I fall short. So then rely on the herbs, then rely on the magic until you can work on self, that you become such a high spiritual being, like a Tahuti, like a Sekert, like a Ptah, to where you don't need those herbs anymore. But until then, go ahead and rely on the herbs. Go ahead and do your rituals. But always keep in mind the goal is to conquer self, which is what the Assyrian drama was all about, which is what Haru's struggle was all about, the conquest of self, so that Osir, the God within you, can rise. That's what your goal is. Your goal is nothing else but that. Okay? And when Osir is risen within you, then you won't have to worry about the herbs. This is why I also rely heavily upon mantras, because mantras are a way of waking the energy within you. And I teach a lot about the mantras, the Vedic mantras. They're very important because some of them are so powerful, you will see instant results. You know, you need to get people out of your life, you recite the mantras. You need to bring wealth into your life, recite the mantras. So you can do that without having to necessarily elevate your consciousness. See, there are certain things, and this is why the ruling elite is so strongly entrenched in ruling this planet, is because there are certain magical practices that don't take spiritual elevation to use. And they have tapped into that. But then there are other magical practices that before you can get to them, there's a safeguard called Ma'at, meaning that before you can access the power of Sekert, which is the power to move mountains, you must go through Ma'at to make sure that you're just. See, in George Lucas's story, Star Wars, you can manipulate the light and the dark side of the force equally. You don't have to have a prerequisite to be a good person, you know, to do certain things with the force. But God's power is not accessible for those who want to do evil, for those who want to do wrong, because God, when God created all that there is, God said there's no foundation for which anything to stand upon. So God says, I will thus create Ma'at, which is the foundation of the law for everything to operate by. And by doing that, God created order out of chaos. Does that make sense? So understand that there are magi's or magicians out there that you can encounter who can be very powerful, but they're very powerful, but it's a restriction, a restricted power of using certain things. But there is a higher magical form, a higher magical power that you can access if you're living truth. You understand? Example of that is someone does me wrong, and I could do a ritual, get some of these herbs and exact revenge. But then I can also access Ma's love and power and say, I want them to come into the realization of what they've done is wrong and then make amends for it. And that is the power of God. That is tapping into source energy. Because source seeks not to punish, but to balance, which is why the Chinese culture and their philosophy was so brilliant and so advanced, because if you look at Qigong, what Qigong does is heal the energy systems of the body by balancing them out. You see, Western society has a problem. Western society doesn't know how to reconcile differences. So everything is an opposing force, and the opposing force must be eliminated. But we understand that there's no such thing as an opposing force. It's only a complementary force. And we seek, when that complementary force goes over the line beyond its allocated position, then you must invoke Kurukuhudi to put it back into balance and put it back into its position. So that, because that so-called evil, or the other person that's doing you wrong, is necessary to maintain the whole, or it would not be there, it would not exist. You see, the ruling elite don't understand that there are certain races on this planet that are here for a reason. So the ruling elite, all they can see is an opposing force, so all they want to do is kill it, eliminate it. And then they put that same thought process into the ether, the etheric realm, through the use of herbivores and pendulums, and influences other people to take on that same mentality. So you have people walking around going, kill off that race. That race is no good. We must eliminate that race. When they don't understand that, hey, everything has a place, and a place for everything. So that's what you have to think about. And it is that thinking, that terrible thinking, which has brought about death and destruction on the planet. The idea of there is something that opposes you has brought death and destruction on the planet. Because if you were in tune and in harmony with the universe, and you were connected with source energy, then you would understand that that thing is really an aspect of you. When you really boil it down and you understand this on the highest level, everything that you're dealing with and interacting with is just a projection of your own thoughts and beliefs. And I grappled with that in my first years out of the priesthood. When I got out of the priesthood, I started seeing things that really communicated to me and made me really understand that there is no reality, that I was really walking around in a holographic projection of my own making. And I'll be real with you. Let me take some vodka before I leave. I'll be real with you before I leave. There were two events in my life that almost drove me crazy and almost put me to the verge of saying, I don't want to live anymore. The first, when I saw verifiable evidence that there is no outside world, that I was living in a holographic experience. Because reality pinged me back, I started to see how people that I was encountering were not real. And then I became really depressed at the fact that I said, so it's just me here. I am alone. I am alone interacting with avatars, or what appears to be people, but of my own creation. Imagine that. Imagine actually seeing evidence that that's true, that the people you're interacting with, the things that you're interacting with, are not real. And it's only you experiencing this. And I tested it because I said, I will meditate, and I will say, I will do this, and I will watch the reaction. And one of the tests that I did was I manipulated reality, and I said, this person is going to say this line. That person is going to say that line. I am going to pretend I'm a director, and I'm going to write a script, and I'm going to have them say this line. And the very next day, those two individuals said the line, and it shocked me. And then I knew it was true, that I was living in a holographic experience. And that's when I started to sink into depression. The other time that it really frightened me, this is when I couldn't really get a hold of things, is when I time traveled, I think it was 6 months to a year into the future. And I time traveled and came back. And when I did that, I was traumatized because I couldn't get a grip on where I was, what time period this was, what was going on. And from there, I started experimenting with more and more herbs, trying to go deeper into the trance state, going deeper into what the Kemetic people say, the duat. And I realized I was trying to go deeper into the duat for a number of reasons. I was actually communicating with deceased relatives, which was really cool. I found that to be very interesting, communicating with them. But when I got out of it, I was missing them. But what I pushed myself to such a level, I made videos on this, that I ended up in the hospital 3 times. 3 times in the hospital. And all 3 times they kept me in intensive care. They was monitoring my heart. And they were like, why are you doing this? What's going on? And even as I'm sitting in the hospital, I'm like, I don't care. This is not real. And I had to get to a point, and I'm still working on that, to say, even though you know it's not real, you can't push yourself that far. You've got to play out the simulation. You've got to play all of this out because you have a destiny, you have a theme that you're living. Neter, Yahweh, God needs you. So stop pushing yourself to that level of going too deep into the dua. And a lot of Magi's have had this issue too, because if you read the work of like Aleister Crowley, the most evil person in the world, as they called him back in that period of time, he would go into deep states of trance, but he was taking psychedelic drugs to do it. Now, I never did that, but he was using them to do that. And it was interesting because if you read his autobiography, you read his life story, he kept doing it to experience more and more and more. But at the very end of his life, he didn't get the answers he was looking for. He didn't get those answers. He inherited a lot of money. He was wealthy, but he lost all that money. And he died pretty much like penniless and alone. So I used that as a lesson. And I was like, well, I can't keep doing this to myself. I knew I was messing my body up. I was killing myself because I wanted the answers. But it was a combination of seeking answers and also not being able to deal with the truth of the matter is I'm alone having this experience. But then you have to say to yourself, but are you truly alone? Because you're not who you think you are. And that's the trick. See, you think you're an individual. You're not. You're God. You're consciousness. And you can verify that by going and looking to the mirror. And this is what we call in the priesthood the mirror exercise. You go, you turn on all lights, you go stand in front of the mirror, and you look at the mirror, look at yourself, and what you're going to see is a presence, a sentient being looking back at you, and that is God, that is Neter. And then you will realize that you're not who you think you are. All right, because you're getting confused. You see, you're getting the person confused with the self. All right. Because when you stare into that mirror, you're going to see the true self looking back at you. And the person is going to step aside and go, oh, shit, there's something there. And that's what you're going to realize. It's the same thing as like if you really look at an animal, you look at an animal really closely, a dog, and you look into his eyes and you stare at it for a few minutes, you'll see that the dog has consciousness. You'll see it there. And the same with you, but you'll see God consciousness within you. So what I was thinking was, oh, I'm alone, but I'm not alone. No. I've just been fooled into thinking that the person is really the only thing that exists, but there's more than the person there. Yes, the person is there, but there is also the true self. And when you die, what really goes on and carries on is the true self, not the person. Does that make sense? Yes or no? So anyway, wanted to give you that quick message. I have to run. Got a lot of things to do. So I'm going to New York. So I'll be in New York tomorrow. Some people have already texted me. So if you guys are in New York, you want to meet up, text me, let me know. And then we can hang, we can do some magical stuff. I can do some hypnosis and you can see live demonstrations because I love going out to the street and doing the live hypnosis demonstrations. I love that stuff. That's fun for me. You'll be able to see it if you're in New York. So just hit me up. And we'll be cool. And by the way, a reason why I'm going to New York because we're giving up our apartment in New York. My 3 wives and my 14 kids. So donate to the channel. It's important. It's not easy having 6 wives and 12 kids. All right. So you guys are in a position. Please donate to the channel. It will help me to make more videos. And we want to get a bigger house so I can marry and have more wives and stuff. But anyway, I digress. So thank you guys, and until my next video, this is Kasak Ma Keparu, son of Maad and Tahuti. My aunt is the beautiful goddess Hedaru. Till next video, as I always say, I'm in Ra.